The following is a non-profit fan-based audio drama. Warriors is owned by Terry Brooks and Del Rey Publishing. Please support the official release and enjoy.
3 days later, Jack McCall was landing in Cardiff, Wales. He was still not sure why he was doing this, save for those final words from Two Bears. If you choose to go, you will wonder for the rest of your life if you should have. Fair enough, he supposed. Yet he could not help but wonder if the reverse might not turn out to be true. If you choose to go, you may end up finding out it was a huge mistake. In any case, he had made his choice, and he was soon driving through the Welsh countryside towards Snowdonia, in the north of the country. Wending his way along scenic A470 on the west side of the River Conway, he was pointing toward the villages of Llandudno and Portmeirion, without intending to reach either. His destination would not require him to travel that far, but only below the village of Batuz Yakad. There, according to the instructions handed to him by Two Bears in the same envelope as the airline tickets, he was there to take shelter in a small farmhouse, which is only 3 miles from where the lady awaited him in an out-of-way tourist destination called Fairy Glen. Jack had never heard of it, not surprisingly because when you came right down to it, he had never heard much of anything about Wales. Since directions had been provided, and he had made a commitment to see this through, he would follow the path laid out for him, and save any further questions or concerns about why he was doing this for another time. He kept close watch on the road signs as he drove to be sure he was doing everything he had been told. But as time wore on and the towns and farms grew sparser, he began to wonder if perhaps he had missed a turning. It wasn't until he saw a sign indicating Batuz Yakad was only 20 kilometers away that he decided he was on the right track, and began to look for the side road that would take him to his lodgings. Once arrived, he would have 2 nights to wait for the rise of the full moon, and then he would meet the lady. He was to ask directions to the Fairy Glen, but give no explanation as to why he was going beyond, saying that he had heard it was beautiful during the full moon, and he wanted to see if it was true. There was to be no mention of the lady or Two Bears. There was to be no mention of anything that seemed out of the ordinary. He was simply to show up as requested, drive to the Fairy Glen, and listen to what the lady had to say. He didn't even know how he was supposed to let the lady know he was there. Two Bears was no longer around to advise him, and he had already been told it would be a mistake to ask his host for anything other than directions. So, when he pulled his rental into a parking area next to a well-kept stone cottage just off a side road he had only barely avoided missing, he was resolved to keep everything about what he was doing in Wales secret. He would simply pretend he was on vacation, having just graduated college. He climbed out of the car and was standing there, having a slow look around, when the front door opened and a bearded old stober in jeans and a flannel shirt came out to greet him.
Mr. McCall?
The other asked, advancing down the stone walkway. Jack waved.
That would be me.
I'm Arthur Henry.
He arrived with his hand extended and a pleased look on his face.
Found your way here all right?
I had directions.
Good ones, too. Most managed to miss us on the first try. Have to call in or muck around a bit first. None of that for you. Come on in. Here, I'll lap you over your luggage.
There wasn't much luggage to begin with, since Jack had packed everything in a duffel, but Arthur Henry insisted on carrying it himself, refusing to let Jack do the work.
Now you just go on through. Leave the rest to me. Got tea and beer? Whichever you prefer. College student, right? Gotta get a good education these days now, don't you? If you truly do want to get ahead in the world. Come on, sit in the room with the fire. It gets awful cold here at night.
Arthur Henry, it turned out, was a talker. He asked about Jack's flight, then told a few stories about flights of his own. He asked about Jack's education, then gave a quick survey of his own. He asked about Jack's plans for the future, then talked about his own plans for the cottage and the surrounding land. He spent a good deal more time afterwards weighing in on the Welsh economy, Welsh politics, and Wales's place in the British Commonwealth, and how it related to the place of Great Britain in the larger world. He then went on to advise Jack how best to use these first several months out of college before entering the workforce.
Plenty of time to be a vital cog in the business world. Hey, Jack. But you need a bit of seasoning first, and this is a time to get that odd bit of experience. You won't find it in any other 9-to-5 workday. Travel. Go and travel is the answer. See the world. See how the other 9/10 live. This will give you a larger frame of reference, meaning you'll have a significant advantage over almost everyone here, because most folks never see, never, even a little of what is out there.
By now, they were settled in a sitting room, before a fire blazing in an old stone hearth, glasses of Welsh beer in their hands, and a ruddy glow on their faces. Arthur Henry hadn't stopped talking since they sat down, although Jack had managed to squeeze one or two words in edgewise in a futile effort to hold up his end of the conversation. Mostly, he just smiled and nodded, and let the old man say whatever he chose, content to let him do so for as long as it took to exhaust him. Although, as the first hour passed, and a sizable chunk of the second with it, he began to wonder if he was expecting too much. Finally, Arthur seemed to realize what he was doing, and sprang to his feet with a hearty laugh.
Well, now, I'm just going on and on, taking up all the air in the room. Come, Mr. McCall, and share some dinner with me. If you're good, I'll spare you a few moments of the evening to talk a bit about... why not yourself?
A stew had been prepared on an old iron stove, and it was delicious. After adding fresh baked bread,
Make all my own bread, I do.
Arthur advised, and another glass or two of beer, Jack McCall could honestly say he had never enjoyed a meal more. And he could say that because his host finally took a break from non-stop talking to concentrate on his food. When that was finished, Arthur directed Jack to his quarters, a cozy bedroom at the rear of the cottage, complete with his own bathroom, to let him unpack before coming to sit once more by the fire. He did invite Jack to talk about himself, and Jack managed to give a sketchy account of his early life, education, family situation, before his time was at an end, and Arthur was off running once again. Wife and kids, 3, the former dead now, the grown and living elsewhere, life spent working at a lumber mill, fond of cricket, fond of football, European, politics mostly, and exercise and futility in his opinion, and a world in shambles mostly because this new generation, Jack's, just didn't understand what it meant to work for a living. Finally, talk worked its way around to Jack's plans for the time he was spending in Wales. Jack gave a brief overview, consisting of trips into Snowdonia area, visits to some of the castle ruins that had once been Edward's detested Iron Ring, built to subdue the wild savages he believed the Welsh people to be, and finally, a journey up to Lilongio for the night. Then he added, as casually as he could manage it,
A friend of mine who's been here before told me there was a place I needed to visit that's right around here. Said it was very beautiful, almost magical. He called it Fairy Glen. Do you know it?
the old man grunted.
Right down the road, a short distance from here.
Have you been there?
Aye, twice. Once to see it, once to be sure I was seeing it right. You should go, but in the daytime, not at night.
Why is that? I thought it would be beautiful under the full moon.
The old man went quiet for a moment, lost in thought.
Well, odd things happen there at night. You can't be sure what you're seeing. Daytime, you see it all much better. Can't be so easily fooled. You go when there's sunlight.
He didn't make it a suggestion, he made it a command, and Jack knew when to back off.
Sure, I'll go during the day, if that's what you think best.
His host's sharp eyes fixed on him.
That is what I think is best.
Jack smiled to show his agreement, but Two Bears' instructions trumped the old man's suspicions. He would go on tonight of the full moon, as requested.